Hi guys, welcome to Skyrim Pix episode 14. It's been a long time, too long since I've actually gotten these episodes out. I think the main problem with me was inspiration. It's like a writer's block but with videos. I started part 2 so many times and in the end it took just one image to really spark some inspiration, but we'll get into that later. Let's discuss this first image by Damal. This image is lush, it's green, and right in the centre of this beautiful, lush, adventurous scene we have some goblins looking quite shifty, and I think the flowers at the foreground of the image as well really give you the sense that you're actually looking from a bush or something at these goblins walking up and down the path. And this is just a great image to kick this episode off with. Next we have an image by Huygen. This is Markarth's City of Stone looking absolutely gorgeous. I believe the author of the image has said that this is stitched together. This is just great because if we were in game we just simply wouldn't see this panoramic image before us. And this is what great screen archery does. It just lets us view something that we should be used to seeing in a different way. Our next image is by Eileen. What caught my attention about this image was the angle. I love the little piece of architecture which is just stuck up in the ground and it's slightly leaning towards the left. And I also love the aspen trees in the background. They have no leaves on them, they look very bare. This is obviously a very wintry scene, and I really think it's successful in creating the desired atmosphere, which is a cold and empty vibe. Our next image is by LMAO, and what simply caught my attention about this one is how naturally feminine this Khajiit looks. I think it can be quite difficult to make the beast races actually look feminine, look dainty, ladylike, and I think this image, it does it really well. Not only do we have this really elegant pose, but we can also see her hand, which, or should I say paw, lifted up in the air in a kind of feminine-like pose. I also love the background. The blur in the background is really strong, and this just lets us focus on her even more. Our next image is by the astronaut. My caves in Skyrim do not look like this. First of all, I absolutely love the crop of this image, and I simply love the two-toned white and aqua blue. I think it draws you in because we've got these two white slabs of ice either side, and we've got this long opening that just goes off into the distance. And if I was to sum up this image in one word, it would be exploration. Our next image is by Maxus. Now this image is actually entitled Necromancy, but I think we still get the point that this character is very much interested with death. I mean, she's laying on the floor, she's got this skull just right by her hand, and she's got this expression of it doesn't bother her. We can see her feet in the background swinging about. Well, we can imagine they're swinging about. Now the thing that's very captivating about this image is the sort of two-tone feel to it. You've got the ground and the skull, which seem to be very much your typical pleasant Skyrim textures. And then you've got the character and her face, her hair, her feet. They kind of look they have a very cartoon-like vibe to them. And this is not something we see often in Skyrim screen archery, so I think this is really imaginative. Our next image is by Emsh. The vibe of this image is summed up in a word: tranquility. There's just such a gentle vibe, you know, and the trees, they look kind of bare, but it doesn't give off a feeling of emptiness because the mood of the image is just very comforting. Me personally, this is the type of image that I can just get lost in, just sit staring at it, just actually wanting to be there. Perhaps it's the pastel-like colours that create this really relaxed environment. Either way, brilliant image. Our next image is by Excellentium. This black and white image just feels so cold. Not only do we have a snow-coloured ground, frost on the grass tips, we can even see a frost effect on the top 2 corners. But the thing is, there's one thing that makes this image freezing. So it's not just cold, it's freezing, and that's the fox. I mean, look at his face. He's literally got frost stuck to his fur, his mouth looks like he's in the middle of shivering. I mean, in reality, his fur is probably thick enough to keep him warm, but that's just the way the picture looks. Overall, this image succeeds in capturing this freezing scene. Our next image is by Bits. This image is simply powerful. Well, not the image, the mammoth. It looks like dust has been thrown up from the ground as he's been walking or throwing his trunk and tusks in the air. I love the dramatic feel to this image. There's a slight tension. I mean, you can see this mammoth, he's standing there raising his trunk, raising his tusks, and you know, he's really dominant, and there's dust going everywhere. And then there's this field of delicate flowers, delicate pink flowers, just looking all fuzzy and going far out into the distance. And I think the fact that the environment is so beautiful just makes the mammoth stand out even more, somehow, if that makes any sense. Let's move on to our last image of part 1 by Tess Marmotte. Now this image is bright and creative. I love the fact that the doll is just on this dirty lake edge. It's just not the sort of place a doll should be. Or well, it's not the sort of place a treasured doll should be. This gives us the feeling that this doll has been abandoned, thrown away, or just forgotten about. I love the vivid colours of this picture, the bright green lily pads, the red dress on the doll and her red cheeks, and the fact that her eyes are closed and she's got this almost sleeping expression on her face. Now this picture, it did influence me because a while back I actually tried to do something similar, but I didn't think it worked. I mean, it might have been the lighting, it might have been that I just wasn't that inspired with the idea, but having seen this image, it rekindled my enthusiasm for this abandoned doll theme. And I think that's what appreciating other people's work ultimately leads to. Right, let's move on to part 2. Okay, so we're here with part 2 and I've pre-named this set Abandoned. So the set is going to be very simple. We're going to have a doll and we are going to position the doll in various places throughout Skyrim to give this feeling of being abandoned. And I've got 7 images in mind, so that's 7 setups in total, and we'll see what happens. Right, the first picture I was thinking of doing was a doll in a campfire. There always has to be a dragon. Whenever I want to do a screen archery set, there always has to be a dragon. We're going to place the doll beside the campfire. I don't know if I have a doll in my inventory. Yes, I do. Yes. Right, so I will drop the doll. And for some reason it goes very far. I have no idea why this is. Okay, I will position the doll and be back shortly. Okay, we're back and I've positioned it as best as possible. Obviously, the invisible mesh must push it up a little bit. But we're going to go with this one. We're going to take a few shots in daytime, and we're going to make it nighttime and take a few shots then. So the next idea, this NPC, he's got a lot to say. Right, so we're going to be moving on to the second setup. That will be a doll in a wagon, so I'm going to try and actually make the image work that I did a while ago. Right, so here we are at the wagon. I went for a daytime because it just looks a lot clearer. This wagon's quite dark at nighttime. There's not much lighting and it's hard to see the doll and make it really stand out. So we are here outside the Bannered Mare for our next setup. The reason I've chosen this location is we need an inn, and the idea is to simply prop a broom up against the wall with a doll on the floor to give the impression that a cleaner has swept up rubbish from the ground. And we can see that there's obviously a sweet roll on the floor, which is obviously rubbish. Let's give this a shot. Where is our broom? There we are. So I hope it's not too difficult to position. I hope it's not going to be. Okay, I think that's good. Will it stay? Yes. Oh yeah, we actually do need some rubbish, so let's grab this sweet roll after all. Okay. Let's drop that there. No, don't fall. Is it? Oh, it's not propped anymore. You know what? I'm gonna have to position this and come back to you guys when it's done. Right, so that actually took longer than expected, but here we are. And I've managed to get the broom propped against the wall. And we're gonna see if we can get some nice screenshots with this one. Right, so for our next scene I was thinking a doll kind of dumped in this Whiterun stream here, possibly in the rain and obviously daytime because we really can't see anything right now. And after this I have a couple of more setups in mind, and then we'll have a look at the finished set, which I hope delivers the abandoned feel. As usual, the doll has been launched far into the distance. If anyone knows why this is, I would be grateful if you just let me know why this happens. So let's see what we can do with this weather. I think it needs to rain. And the rain isn't too harsh either, it's nice and subtle. Let's go ahead and finish up these shots. Well guys, thank you for watching, that's it for this episode. Before we go, I just want to say one thing. To those I have featured today, I'm yet to feature, and those whose work I may have missed, I would just like to say keep up the amazing work. You are all such an inspiration. Thanks again for watching and have a great week.
In my day, we knew how to dispose of trash properly.